There's no magic secret to losing weight. At the end of the day, you need to be in a calorie deficit, because if you're in a caloric deficit, you're going to lose weight. If you're in a caloric surplus, you're going to gain weight. And if the amount of calories that you take in is equal to that of your total daily energy expenditure, your weight is going to stay exactly the same. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in and welcome back to another Sunday Q&A. Steven here with Team Euphoric, and today's question is with regard to fasting while on the carnivore diet. Earlier this week, I was on the World Carnivore Tribe group on Facebook, and in it there was a question from a member, and the question was, do we need to fast to lose weight while on this way of eating? If so, what had been successful? If not, why? This question often gets brought up in these different carnivore groups, and the truth is no, you do not need to fast in order to lose weight, and there's no magic secret to losing weight. At the end of the day, you need to be in a calorie deficit, because if you're in a caloric deficit, you're going to lose weight. If you're in a caloric surplus, you're going to gain weight, and if the amount of calories that you take in is equal to that of your total daily energy expenditure, your weight is going to stay exactly the same. And this is something that a lot of people will say with regard to any specific diet that they follow. If they are very, very pro either keto, carnivore, vegan, whatever diet they are on, people will make the claim that as long as you follow my diet, you can eat whatever you want. You don't have to count calories because calories don't matter on my diet. And the truth is, calories absolutely do matter, because if you are in a caloric surplus, you are going to gain weight. And that still holds true for carnivore. I've seen it announced many times in the carnivore groups where they'll say, oh, you don't have to count calories on this. You could eat whatever you want. You're not going to gain weight. And yes, you will gain weight if you are in a caloric surplus. How much will you gain? Well, that depends on the surplus that you're in. There are roughly 3,500 calories in 1 pound of fat. So if you were to consume a surplus of 500 calories per day, 500 times 7 is 3,500. So you would gain 1 pound of fat in that week. Now, just because you need to be in a caloric deficit to lose weight, one of the things that I would caution you on is you do not want to be on too high of a calorie deficit, because when you go on too high of a calorie deficit, your body is going to secrete the hormone ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone. And whenever ghrelin is elevated, it's going to do two things. One, it's going to cause you to crave high calorie dense foods. And the second thing is it is also linked to poor decision making. So the chances of you falling off of your diet and going on this big binge and losing all of the progress that you made from your weeks of dieting are going to increase. So you don't want to go on too big of an actual deficit. Now, in terms of the actual deficit, what is a good deficit for you to be in? It's going to depend on how many calories you consume. I made a video months back and it was called How Many Calories Should You Consume? I'm going to include a link right up over here if you haven't seen it. I go into much more detail, but basically the bullet points: when it comes to your actual calories, what I like to do when somebody comes to me for weight loss is I will start with 10 times their body weight in calories. So let's say somebody comes to me and they are 200 pounds. For a 200-pound individual, I would start them on 2,000 calories, and then depending on how much weight they are losing or not losing, then I would adjust it accordingly. With regard to this right over here, this is going to be much better than using those online TDEE calculators, because what I find is a lot of times they are going to overestimate your calorie needs, and part of the reason is because people tend to overestimate their actual activity level. With regard to this, what I said right here, 10 times your body weight, this is going to be a good recommendation for a sedentary individual. So a sedentary individual who is 200 pounds, a 2,000 calorie diet would be a great starting point, and then modify from there. If you are somebody who is moderately active, then what I like to do, my recommendation is usually 12 times that person's body weight in calories. And then for somebody who is very active, then very active would be around 14 times of their body weight in calories. Now, with regard to these numbers and what exactly they mean, a sedentary individual is somebody that generally doesn't move around a lot throughout the day. Whenever I calculate my own calories, I would consider myself a sedentary individual, despite the fact that I work out every single day. And when I say every single day, I mean every single day. I train 7 days a week, but I am considered a sedentary individual because aside from my weight training, I really don't do a whole lot of moving around. When I'm performing a treatment on a patient, I'll be moving their limbs, and if I'm training a client, then I'll put weights back and bring them to them. But aside from that, I don't really do too much moving. So if you are the type of person that trains every single day and that is all you do, you don't really do a lot of walking throughout the day, you don't do a manual labor job, then don't fall into the trap of thinking that you are a very active individual or even a moderately active individual, because you are going to overestimate your calorie needs. If you are somebody that works out and that's all you do in terms of your activity level, you are a sedentary individual. Multiply your body weight by 10 and that'll give you a rough estimate of how many calories you should be consuming. Now, in in terms of determining when you need to modify, either increase or decrease your calories, what I like to see when somebody comes to me for fat loss is anywhere from 0.5% to 1% of their total body weight lost in fat every single week. So let's say you are a 200-pound individual. 0.5% of 200 is 1, and 1% of 200 is 2 pounds. So for a 200-pound individual, anywhere from 1 to 2 pounds of fat loss per week would be a great goal. If you start losing more than 2 pounds per week, that's not going to be sustainable in the long run. So you want to stick within that range. Now, we know that there are 3,500 calories in 1 pound of fat. So if you want to lose 1 pound, then you should be consuming a 500 calorie deficit for the course of a week, because 500 times 7 again is 3,500, which is 1 pound of fat. And if you wanted to lose 2 pounds, then you would want to be in a 1,000 calorie deficit, because 1,000 times 7 is 7,000. 7,000 divided by 2 is 2, which is 2 pounds of fat. Now, with regard to this right over here, this is just a starting point. What you want to do is you want to modify it accordingly. So if you find that you are a 200-pound individual, you're on a 2,000 calorie diet, and you are losing more than 2 pounds of fat per week, then you would want to increase the number of calories that you're consuming. If you're a 200-pound individual and you're on a 2,000 calorie diet and you are not losing at least 1 pound of fat per week, then you would want to decrease your calories a little bit more. Remember, this is a starting point. You do not want to use this as a just general blueprint and go with it for the rest of your life. As your body changes and as you take a look at the scale, you're going to have to modify these numbers. This is a very important point and something that often gets overlooked. A lot of times what people will do is when they determine their actual calorie needs, they are going to stick with that for a very, very long period of time, and you need to adjust accordingly. You can't just determine your calorie needs and then stay with that for the rest of your life unless it is your goal to maintain your weight. If it's your goal to lose weight and you are successfully losing weight, then as you lose weight, your total daily energy expenditure, or your TDEE, and your basal metabolic rate, or your BMR, are both going to decrease. So once you start losing weight, you're going to have to start adjusting your calories and start decreasing it a little bit more if you would like to see results. With regard to your BMR accounts for roughly 70% of your total calories that you expend throughout the day. So as your BMR goes down, that is going to take a big hit on your actual total daily energy expenditure. And if you stick with the calories that you are consuming when you're at a heavier weight, once you start to lose weight, then you may not start to lose weight anymore, and you may actually gain weight. So as you start to lose weight, you're also going to have to decrease your calories a little bit more, and just use the scale as your guide. As I said earlier, 0.5 to 1%. So if you're 200 pounds and eventually you get down to, let's say, 180, and you find that your weight is no longer dropping, hop on the scale. You're 180, multiply that by 10, 1,800 calories now, no longer 2,000. If at 1,800 calories, you find that you are now losing weight, then continue to modify it as you go along. You can't just stick with it forever. You are going to have to modify it. But that's pretty much it for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button so I know to make more of these types of videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, as I will be uploading new videos every single day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.